If you're moving to Greenville, South Carolina, chances are you probably won't end up living downtown. And honestly, that surprises a lot of people when they first start researching the area online. Because while downtown Greenville gets all the attention, most relocation buyers actually end up in one of these three surrounding areas: Greer, Simpsonville, or Travelers Rest. But here's the thing, these three areas feel completely different from each other. Different lifestyles, different vibes, different home styles, different commutes, and different price points. And depending on what stage of life you're in, one of these areas is probably going to fit you way better than the others. So today, I'm breaking down the pros, cons, personalities, and overall feel of each area so you can figure out which Greenville suburb actually matches your lifestyle best. Let's start with Greer, because honestly, this area has absolutely exploded over the last several years. And if you talk to a lot of people relocating here from out of state, Greer ends up near the top of their list pretty quickly. One of the biggest reasons is its location. Greer sits right in the middle of everything. You're conveniently positioned between Greenville and Spartanburg. You're super close to GSP International Airport, and you also have BMW manufacturing right nearby, which has been one of the biggest economic drivers in the entire upstate. BMW alone has completely transformed this area over the last few decades. It brought thousands of jobs, huge business growth, international investment, and honestly, helped turn the upstate into one of the fastest growing regions in the entire Southeast. So even if you don't work for BMW yourself, you still feel the impact through the housing market, local restaurants, shopping, and the infrastructure, and overall development happening throughout this entire area. And because of that growth, Greer has become really popular with professionals, relocation buyers, executives, and people who travel frequently for work. Another huge draw here is you have tons of newer construction communities. So if you're moving from another state and you want open floor plans, newer homes, master plan neighborhoods, community amenities, and something that feels newer and more move-in ready, Greer gives you a lot of options. But what surprises a lot of people is that downtown Greer has actually become really charming too. It's not huge like downtown Greenville, but it has a very active small town feel with local restaurants, coffee shops, breweries, events, and a walkable downtown area that's gotten much more popular over the last few years. So overall, Greer is probably the best blend of growth, convenience, career opportunities, and newer suburban living. Now, Simpsonville is probably what most people picture when they think of suburban Greenville, South Carolina living. This is one of the most established suburban areas in the entire upstate. It's very family oriented, very neighborhood driven, and honestly just extremely practical for everyday life. You have tons of subdivisions, tons of retail, tons of restaurants, grocery stores everywhere, and pretty much every convenience you'd need within a short drive of your neighborhood. And one reason so many relocation buyers end up here is because you can often get a lot of house for your money compared to other parts of Greenville County, especially if your priorities are square footage, yard space, multiple bedrooms, good neighborhood options, and overall value. You'll also hear school conversations come up constantly when people talk about Simpsonville. A lot of families specifically target this area because of the schools and the overall family-friendly environment. And location-wise, Simpsonville gives you pretty easy access to downtown Greenville, Mauldin, Fountain Inn, and Interstate 385, which makes commuting fairly convenient for a lot of people. The overall vibe here feels much more traditional suburban living. Think of kids riding bikes, community pools, HOA neighborhoods, cul-de-sacs, playgrounds, and weekend soccer games. So if Greer feels more growth-oriented and professionally driven, Simpsonville feels more family-oriented and residential. And because families target this area so heavily, the market here can stay very competitive, especially for updated homes in good neighborhoods at reasonable price points. For example, some great neighborhoods in the Simpsonville market is Five Forks Plantation, Neely Farms, and Riverwalk. They have some of the best amenities in the area. But overall, Simpsonville is probably best for families, first-time buyers, move-up buyers, and people wanting that classic suburban neighborhood lifestyle with lots of options. Now, Travelers Rest is completely different than the other two we just went over. Honestly, Travelers Rest feels less like choosing a suburb and more like choosing a lifestyle. This area has a much more laid-back, outdoorsy, small-town feel. And for a lot of people relocating here, especially remote workers, that's exactly what they're looking for. One of the biggest draws is a Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're not familiar with it, it's a 36-mile massive walking and biking trail system that connects Travelers Rest all the way through downtown Greenville and into Mauldin. And around Travelers Rest specifically, the trail has become a huge part of the lifestyle and culture of the area. You'll see people walking, running, biking, sitting outside at breweries, grabbing coffee, and just spending a lot more time outdoors. The downtown itself has a lot of charm. It's smaller, more local, more relaxed, and honestly feels very different from the busier suburban feel you get in Simpsonville or Greer. Another huge advantage here is your access to the mountains. You're much closer to hiking, lakes like Lake Robinson, Paris Mountain, which sits inside Greenville, Lake Kiowee and Lake Hartwell in Oconee County, right off Highway 11. Plenty of waterfalls and weekend trips into Asheville and Hendersonville, North Carolina. So if you're somebody who prioritizes nature, outdoor activities, character, and a slower pace of life, Travelers Rest can really be appealing. Now, the trade-off is that the inventory is usually more limited here. You'll see more unique homes, custom homes, and homes with acreage, and properties with character instead of large cookie-cutter subdivisions. And because Travelers Rest has become so desirable, pricing near downtown Travelers Rest especially can get expensive surprisingly fast. You're also starting to see more luxury development moving into the area because the demand has increased so much. So overall, Travelers Rest tends to attract remote workers, outdoor lovers, buyers wanting charm and personality, and people prioritizing lifestyle over pure commute convenience. So if I had to simplify it, Greer is probably the best mix of convenience, growth, and newer development. Simpsonville gives you that classic, family-friendly suburban lifestyle with great value and lots of neighborhood options. And Travelers Rest is much more lifestyle focused with outdoor access, charm, and a more laid-back atmosphere. And honestly, there's no best area. It really just depends on you, your lifestyle, your commute, your budget, your stage of life, and what you want your day-to-day living to actually feel like. So if you're trying to figure out which Greenville area suburb fits you best, reach out to me directly. I help relocation buyers narrow this down all the time because honestly, choosing the right area matters just as much as choosing the right house. Send me a message or drop a comment below and let me know what kind of lifestyle you're looking for, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. And I'm curious, which area would you pick? Greer, Simpsonville, or Travelers Rest?